Coming up next here on CBS, big 425 matchups. Cowboys at the Chargers. That's the big one. Titans at the Seahawks. That's coming up next.
Yeah, Titans, Seahawks. I'm interested to see that. Can the Tennessee Titans fix all the things that went wrong for them in the last week? That's for sure. Can Derrick Henry get going running the football? Because that's the heart of their football team. Run it, play action, and then let the defense do its job.
All right, back here at Studio 43, I'm James Brown with the Full House. And as we take a look at the early games, there are some big picture notes from there.
Well, there are growing pains for young quarterbacks. Young quarterbacks struggled mightily today. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Davis Mills, who came in for Tyrod Taylor. And then you see Justin Fields, who also came into that game because Andy Dalton got hurt. And then when we talk about notable injuries, Tyrod Taylor, Carson Wentz, Andy Dalton, and Tua Tagovailoa all got hurt in the early games today. So, man, this is going to be a war of attrition, especially with 17 games.
Yeah, speaking of injuries, there's a couple of guys that stand out today that bounced back from injuries, and they're both on the Denver Broncos. One, Teddy Bridgewater. At one point, we thought his career was over, and he went to Denver, fought for the QB job, won the QB job outright, and he is controlling the narrative out there and playing well through the first couple of weeks. On the other side of the ball, Von Miller missed all of last season with that ankle injury.
Right.
Now, through 2 games, 3 sacks. So even at his age, coming off of an injury, he's playing very well.
You know, my takeaway, for big bounce back wins, when you talk about New England, Cleveland, and the Buffalo Bills. When we talk about, are you concerned? No, they kind of proved who they are. They're playoff contenders. But I look at a couple players, 2 quarterbacks to me. Derek Carr, what he's done these first 2 weeks in terms of going against Baltimore and Pittsburgh, averaging over 400 yards. They're 2-0. And how about Sam Darnold down in Carolina? Carolina's off at 2-0. Christian McCaffrey's back healthy, and Sam Darnold looks like a different quarterback.
What gave you the confidence going into today's games that Carolina would do well?
Well, Carolina was impressive. I know they were playing against the New York Jets last week, but they had 6 sacks. They could pressure the quarterback. And I just think Christian McCaffrey is an X factor on the field. Sam Darnold now there with Joe Brady, who's the offensive coordinator. He's got a plethora of receivers right now. And I just think there's a great balance on that team.
Sam Darnold, great design by the offense, but Joe Brady, 2nd year in the NFL, it shows. Get rid of the football, get it to your playmakers. What really catches my attention is this. Defense, Bill. Once again, you're always talking offense. I don't know what's wrong with you. But the Raiders, all the question marks about the Raiders, look what they've done the first 2 weeks on defense. How about the Buffalo Bills? I moaned and groaned last week. Will the Bills defense step up to be Super Bowl caliber? They're outplaying their offense right now. San Francisco's defense is tremendous. And you said it, the Carolina Panthers, 2 years of really good drafting and organization and toughness. That's the Carolina.
You know, the other thing, you were really concerned about Buffalo earlier today in the show.
Sure.
So they figured it out today. But the other one is Matthew Stafford and the Rams.
Yeah.
So they're 2-0 now. They go on the road. They beat Indy. Indy had trouble scoring early in the game. They controlled the game from a yardage standpoint. They just couldn't get it into the end zone. But more importantly, Matthew Stafford was brought there for games like this, late in games, lead your team to victory, and that's exactly what he did.
So, Nate, let's spin it forward and take a look at the late games coming up on our air. We've got, of course, the late game being Dallas taking on the L.A. Chargers.
Yeah, of course. Dak Prescott, he is one of those guys that can put the game on his shoulders. And what do I mean by that? Even when the run game isn't going, you know that Dak Prescott can go out there and throw for 400, even 500 yards. So I'm looking forward to him getting Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb involved early.
I say high-scoring game. Both quarterbacks are awesome. Dak was off to a great start last year before he got hurt. He picked up right where he left off Thursday night against the Tampa Bay Bucks.
And speaking of picking up right where he left off, we know what Justin Herbert did his rookie season, broke that rookie record with TD passes, and he's going to let it fly, looking for Keenan Allen on the outside.
And you talk about the running game to complement Dak, and that's Ezekiel Elliott. They talked about what kind of great shape he's been in this training camp. Did not get going in week 1. This may be a breakout game for him in week 2.
Austin Eckler, the Los Angeles Charger, small of stature, big when he runs, man. He can run with power, quickness, all those other things. And he's got the human crane with him, and that's Justin Herbert, who can throw over the defense.
Human crane?
Well, I don't know what else to say. He gets over the top of defensive players. I've never seen a quarterback do this in the NFL.
You talk about talented wide receivers. You talk about a talented group of wide receivers. Well, the Dallas Cowboys have one of the top 3 groups in all of the NFL, led by this guy, Amari Cooper. And look, CeeDee Lamb may be a little bit better, but Amari Cooper, as you know, Nate, is a great route runner.
Yeah, and he started off strong, was targeted 17 times last week and caught 30 13 of them. But mentioning Justin Herbert being a human crane, he also has a big wide receiver. So think about that advantage. You have a guy in Keenan Allen who can come out of the break, turn around. He's going to be looking his quarterback in the eyes because he can look over the line of scrimmage that he's throwing.
Right.
And there's that complimentary guy you're talking about, Boom, CeeDee Lamb. Week 1, 7 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Great compliment to Amari Cooper, and that is the plethora of receivers that Dak Prescott has.
Yes, he does. And here's Derwin James back from injury this year. Is he good? Yes. I mean, he can do a little bit of everything. He can cover. He can play deep safety. He can be an outside linebacker. And, of course, he has a little friend named Joey Bosa that can help him out on the defensive side.
How about Russell Wilson in Seattle? And yet playing against the Titans at home, their home opener, 4 touchdown passes last week. Last year, the first 5 or 6 weeks of the year, we were talking about him being the potential MVP of the 2020 season. Well, he got off to a great start. The question is, will they continue to let him be the guy that he is? He's a great thrower of the ball.
Yeah, we might as well call him Mr. September, right? Because he plays well in the beginning of the season. We'll see if he can keep that going. Tyler Lockett is fantastic. Phil, we've been talking about it all day. Wide receivers getting on safeties. If you want something to pay attention to today, if Tyler Lockett's one-on-one, Russell Wilson will go to him. And if you see him running down on a safety, that ball is going up in the air.
Ryan Tannehill last week got sacked 6 times. He was playing at home. Now he's playing in Seattle, and it gets loud out there. So I'll tell you what, he better get rid of the ball fast. He better lean on his running back to keep that pass rush off him.
Well, who they need to lean on is the thing called the offensive line, because it didn't do a job last week. They didn't give Derrick Henry, probably their most valuable player, a chance to really get rolling. He makes the team go. If they start running the football, they can do the play actions. We know all that, but it just toughens up the team and gives the defense, hey, you got to do whatever you can to help them out and try to keep them off the field.
And here's your wide receiver number 2 these days in Tennessee, and that is Julio Jones. Of course, A.J. Brown's their number 1 wide receiver. Did not play well last week, was called out by Coach Mike Vrabel during the week. He took a bad penalty and, just hasn't really fit in just yet. The thing about this is in Atlanta, he would be targeted 150 times during the year. Here,
gonna happen.
It's not going to happen in this offense.
Yeah, especially if that play-action football isn't working. If you don't get Derrick Henry going, as a wide receiver on the Tennessee Titans, you have to realize I might not be getting the rock as much as I want to.
And you look at the other game, I tell you right now, Justin Herbert picking up where he left off last year. I think he's electric, and I think he's got a great guys around him.
I'm going to say this about Seattle, their offense. Shane Waldron, a new coordinator, he barely turned the first page of the playbook. I want to see what else they can bring out this week to help Russell Wilson even more.
That's all the talk. Now let's take care of the action. That's coming your way next.